Well, good morning, everybody. How's it going? It is around 7:10 a.m. This morning here in San Antonio, Texas, in case you're wondering. How's it going? Happy Tuesday. How y'all doing? I guess I'll stand this way. You can see me a little bit better. Anyway, happy Tuesday. Hope y'all are doing well. I wanted to make a video today. There was several things going on, politically this weekend. And so I thought I'd comment on them, share my thoughts, my political thoughts. I would say discussion, but that box doesn't really talk too much. Not much of a talker, that box. So my political comments is what's left. One was obviously the Israel, what's going on with Gaza and Israel. I think, I think I've been clear on my previous YouTube videos. I don't know, maybe if you've seen my comments on it, maybe you haven't. Maybe somebody else dissected my political conversation and you watched their video, and that's completely fine. I don't care. You're using my videos to talk about politics? That's great. I have absolutely zero problems with that. I just want you to know. Anyway, I think that it's very involved. Israel, I Googled it, is technically a parliamentary system. There's a prime minister and a president. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what the AI Google, that's what it showed me on my phone. So technically a parliamentary democracy or something like that. They're judicial system. I thought they were a theocracy, but technically no. Not how we know what a theocracy is. So are they going to modernize any of these concepts? You know how they say modernize stuff, and it was back then it was taking all the paper files and putting it on the computer. So we're going to modernize any of these definitions or whatever, or no? It's fine. But anyway, with that being said, I think that there's an obvious global acute. That means like a quick onset, and also like severity, right? Of as an adjective of treatment and violence, right? The Jewish people, I mean, World War II, right? And you can say also that with other religions, and you can say that about a lot of things, right? But that being said, this conflict in Israel and Gaza, I think is very interesting. It's been a long time, this conflict, even before the current Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I think it's an interesting move, considering this very long-standing argument of is this going to be a one-state or two-state solution, and what exactly that means to different people, right? So, I think it's interesting right now, considering the people at play, the players, and also this gridlock, deadlock of nothing happening. Right? It's this is an ongoing issue and problem. PR not so great as Empire Files, right? I think there's a little bit more involved and stuff like that, and uh, uh, so what I'm trying to say is I think it's an interesting move considering the kind of stalemate that's been going on. So this kind of movement, especially in the region, I think is interesting. Anytime anytime there's a bit of movement going on there, when I say going on there, I guess I just mean the Middle East collectively, right? Um, it's like it takes a long time, right? Afghanistan, 20 years. It was in summer 2021 when finally, after 20 years of being in Afghanistan, we finally say, hey, we're going to leave. Um, Things don't seem to move quickly as far as United States involvement in that region. I'm no Middle East expert or anything, but the argument in my political comment I'm trying to make is the movement of things, and also the timing, but the movement in the sense that it seems like this a one-state solution. It was, never going to happen, right? A sentiment that I seem to come across a lot here at 9107. Oh, that's never gonna happen. But anyway, uh, the Middle East. Anyway, um, this sort of movement and momentum of stuff going on, solutions, I think is a overall positive, and a lot of moves to be made. I think it's a very interesting time to do that, especially considering what some would consider an escalation of the Ukraine Russian war. Every day I see an article about drone attacks and stuff like that, and I think at the UN they were very much concerned about 47's remarks about uh, the fighting, and all of that. So I'm not sure if they asked the previous administration that question, but anyway. Basically, my political comment on that is about the meeting yesterday, and this kind of what seems it wasn't stated as such, I don't think, but this it seems like a two-state solution. Correct me if I'm wrong, or so on and so forth. It seems very much like a two-state solution, and an emphasis on this denouncing and fighting the threat of terrorism that is Hamas, and bringing the hostages home. So as far as all that goes, I have stated I am no longer an Empire Files fan. Anytime they say something, I automatically go at the opposite and go from there, for lots of reasons, which I can't wait to have a back and forth on at some point in time. Obviously not going to happen when I'm at 9107 Wrestlers Creek, obviously. I should expect a paycheck before then. Anyway, this movement of things happening in that region, specifically, typically, on average, with the United States involvement, I think is a positive. I think it's interesting as far as being Republican, for some reason, and all of that, and considering the history of things, I think. And I know the arguments about religious freedom and stuff like that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure. I don't think the Palestinians are Jewish. Um, and Israel is not a theocracy, technically. That's what Google said. So as far as this long-standing conflict, way before the current prime minister, and and all of that, and the argument of there's money to be made in war, and the slow moving, especially considering United States involvement of events happening in that region. I think it's an overall positive. You have these two options, and one option, it was just fighting tooth and nail, and never to be a reality. And so instead of staying in a stalemate, this kind of movement and momentum towards something happening, I think overall, strategically, is very smart. Okay. And see what happens from there, I think, is very interesting. I'm here at 9107, and I definitely, you know, I think it's really interesting. I think, as far as power and authority and all of that stuff, um, and I guess what I can say on that is, it's the greater good. So I'm going to clear my throat 1 second. Okay, sorry. my For some reason right now my throat's acting up. My fifth chakra right now. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, considering that, I'm just a one lone American citizen here in 9107 Rustler's Creek, I in no way want to take power and authority away from people, especially in their homes and stuff like that, in their home country. But considering the power structure that's already in place, and everything that I just said, about all these things taking so much time, it's just like with anything, there's a risk to anything, right? And there's I just think that this the when I say greater good, I mean just there's people who are nefarious, and there's people who are not, and what you can do is try to be knowledgeable about things, and uh, uh, hopefully bet on, and put your money on uh, uh, people wanting good, right? Um, but yeah, those are my thoughts on the matter. It's not a one state solution, and the implications of what that means for Israel, and people who are Jewish. I know a lot of the times, on the news, when you hear, at least what I've seen on the news, I hear a lot about Jewish Americans, and not necessarily the people in Israel and around the world. But I know a lot of governments have stated that a two-state solution is something that they support. So anyway, um, and obviously this solution, it's not a one state solution, and territory will be given compromise, um, and for the sake of eliminating and fighting terrorism. I think that The movement is good. Obviously, it's not ideal, but there was two options there: one-state solution or two-state solution, and the third option, and one that we've been in collectively, even before the current Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, which I know a lot of people talk about, at least in politics, in which, why wouldn't you? Um, so this sort of movement, I think, is interesting, and I think the timing is interesting. Considering the other global conflicts, specifically Ukraine and Russia. Russia and Ukraine. Since, was it 2022? Yeah, I think it was the beginning of 2022 was Ukraine and Russia, and a little later part, October of 2023, was Gaza and all of that, Israel, and obviously Americans there too. So yeah, that's my comments on that. I just kind of wanted to clarify. I don't know if you follow my Twitter or what. Just wanted to throw that out there. This Tuesday morning. So anyway, what else? Oh, a lot of shootings going on. Some would say unprovoked shootings going on here in the United States of America, like the church in Michigan, ICE detention facility here in Texas. It was in Dallas, not San Antonio, in case you're wondering. I think there was another one that I'm forgetting right now. Anyway. So yeah, I guess that's my thoughts. I thought I had one more thing to add, but it escapes me at the moment. I saw YouTube is I didn't realize there was a lawsuit, but YouTube is paying over $20 million to 47. I think the individual, not the organization. For the censoring on in 2021. Censoring the YouTube channel. And if you're wondering, I made a YouTube video and it didn't upload, so I had to go to a different platform, BitChute, to upload that video for January 6th. And I looked through my videos and it says it's available, and I think it says it has like 8 views or something. So that video got uploaded, I think, is available to watch, obviously in 2021. I was going to bring up something else, but I forget what it is, so I'm going to take a sip of coffee, and if I can't remember, I guess I'll go ahead and end this video. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, just I guess ending terrorism is so far two-state solution type non-stalemate going on, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, okay, the mayoral candidate for New York City. That's what I wanted to bring up. I saw he went on Kristen Welker's. If you don't know, she's the one who interviewed in 2020. She interviewed then 45 and Biden during COVID. Hosted the debate. was a debate moderator. I think she went to Harvard or something. I wonder what she does on the side other than meet the press, or maybe that's just what she does. I don't know his name, Mamdani or something. Zohan Mamdani, I don't know his name. I don't really listen to him all that much. You know, I have a really bad taste for so considering my life and my life before 2021, I just am really against this kind of lefty, progressive type of self-identification, not with regular people out on the street, especially if don't happen to be at 9107 Rustler's Creek. I'm not saying it about anybody's political views that happen to be on my talking route or anything like that, but I do also keep that in mind. This kind of just this like the government should take care of you. The government is bad, but at the same time, the government should take care of you. It's just something I'm just so off-putted by. I'm completely against it. you know, it's something that I can remember. I have those views. I've watched that that was my news consumption um, before 2021. And you know, if you followed my journey, then you follow my journey, and you know where I'm coming from when I speak these things. But I'm just really off put by this kind of just like, oh, I'm a lefty progressive and all of that stuff, especially considering the previous administration. I mean, anyway, I'm just the New York City mayor candidate. The point I'm trying to make, what I'm getting at, my political comment here is just this. He's a typical, I don't know, 2012 uh, progressive lefty, and he goes on this show, Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, whatever her name is. I read these names and I don't think I'm reading them right in my head. Now that I speak on them and say them on my YouTube videos, maybe I should take the time to actually read the names when I'm having, but anyway, I just he says he's gonna say all that, gaining this reputation of being a progressive lefty, even throwing in the two words, socialist, communist, getting tied in there with his reputation as New York City mayoral candidate, which obviously helps chocolate milk to be in schools, public schools, obviously. But in his interview, what did he say to her? He was just like, he doesn't think they can be billionaires, or she said that he doesn't think there could be billionaires, and he said fairness in society and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, you need to call these people out. What billionaires you're gonna I'm just finding fault here. So billionaires are bad, but you're not gonna call one out, not one. Use your platform to call them out. I mean, what's the problem here? Billionaires are bad, but you're not going to mention which ones. I don't know. I just found, it's I don't want to say gaslighting, but it's just this. Maybe I do want to say gaslighting. I just think it's just, ineffective. So you want to have building this reputation for New York City mayor candidate, the 47 tweeting and all this stuff, and it's billionaires are bad, and we need to make things fair or something like that. I'm just like, and that's all he's gonna say about it. I mean, maybe now's the time you mention taxes or something like that. I don't know. I just think it's this reputation, and then when he actually has a seat at the table, he's not going to do anything about it. Thanks a lot, Zohan. You're really helping me out here. Okay, Empire Files. But anyway, I hopefully I was clear with my two political talking points today. I was off put by his answer, considering I've been seeing his this kind of social reputation for this New York City mayor candidate, and Eric Adams. If you don't know, he was the mayor. I think he's the current mayor, but he's not running for re-election. And even though he's a Democrat, I didn't mind him as far as I think he was like, we can't afford to have all of this illegal immigration, which was, according to Congress, a lot of loopholes for the amount of immigration going on. There's a certain amount of green card. If you don't know, I learned this from the faith section in the San Antonio Express News. But Congress is the one that holds the power for that stuff. There's a certain amount of green cards allotted per year, and and after was it the summer of 2021 when all that started, and then it just snowballed from there. It was, there was all these loopholes. They're like, oh no, they're not illegal immigrants because of this one judicial thing and all that stuff, and it was like, okay, that one judicial thing is for all of them, because that's how it was like to justify certain individuals. And then later, when it was like time to leave for the country, it's the judicial system that says you can't do that blanket for everybody. They have to leave. And so anyway, even Congress could have just been like, let's raise the number of green cards we allowed per year. They didn't do that. All these other loopholes to say they're not illegal and stuff like that. But anyway, and here's the thing. So Mayor Eric Adams of New York City, he was like, this is a problem, housing these illegal immigrants and being such a bleeding heart is very expensive turning out to be. So some would say he was a little conservative leaning in the previous administration when all that happened. So I think it's very interesting, the timing and all of that. And again, I find it, there's a lot of elements involved. You can, as far as, what are you saying? These countries, they want to leave these countries? It's so bad to live in these countries and so great to live here? Or maybe there's a little bit more incentive than that. Maybe living in those countries in Central and South America isn't so bad. Maybe there could be a danger in and of itself, the flow of illegal narcotics and stuff like that. And which is interesting because competition in capitalism, right? In competition, usually you have business and you have a competition allowed. It makes the product and service better. And so as far as how expensive pharmaceuticals can be, which is contributing when you talk about healthcare. Obviously, you're talking about pharmaceutical companies and maybe the pressures they could be under, right? I'm watching Netflix, I'm watching Hulu, and there's this like a lot of commercials for all this stuff like eczema. I'm just like, I just think it's so interesting because of how if you have a phone, you have the internet, you can just Google stuff. It's in the age we can just Google stuff. I mean, there's this money being spent to advertise this eczema product, and I'm just wondering, like, what is the PR? what are they saying there? Can I see the transcripts? I mean, I know it's a private business, and I'm just saying, to make a point. It's a different day and age, and I'm seeing nothing but commercials for like these pharmaceutical products. So, nothing big, mostly over the counter stuff like eczema, weight loss, and stuff like that. But I'm like, these are all things that are so easily Googleable. Pharmaceutical companies don't care about getting our data, and getting our data is again so interesting. Comment, it used to be such a privacy concern. I mean, I may be a bit jaded, but I think I have kind of a healthy state of mind about it now. But anyway, this flow of drugs, and which seems to be not only the flow of drugs was the problem, but this illegal immigration too. Um, and in 2021, my argument was, well, how does that make the border wall look, right? January 2020 happened, and then January 6th happened, and then all of a sudden there's all of these people wanting to have a better life here in America, and they're lining up on the border wall. Obviously, that wasn't a very good look for the border wall, right? Something Americans voted for positively, arguably, 3 times. Border wall construction and all of that. But anyway, um, and then there was a big thing with Abbott and the judicial system about putting up razor wire in the water, having a wall on the water. But anyway, what I'm trying to, my later point was, I wonder what this competition is between the flow of illegal drugs and I guess flow of money, I don't know, and this pharmaceutical companies, because I think that, I mean, why else would marijuana be illegal? So what would happen if you didn't need to take an antidepressant? What would happen if, you know, marijuana was legalized? And there's a stigma about it for some reason in some groups of people. I've seen mostly even some Democrats have stigma about it. So I'm just like, okay, nobody else out in the real world other than 9107, this is formerly known as NSC School Bus Route, thinks there's any stigma about marijuana. Say you're 18, if there could be an argument, you have to be 21 in order to do it. But they don't choose to do that. They choose to have a stigma about it. And again, if you've been following me for a while, something I've encountered and is endlessly frustrating, makes me think, oh, maybe marijuana isn't even the problem. But maybe for some people it is, but for others, I think it gets a little bit more nefarious and a little bit obsessive compulsive in this needing to control others' behavior. But it's one of those things where it's like, you legalize marijuana, then you don't have to demonize law enforcement for arresting somebody for possessing marijuana, for illegal search because of marijuana smell. Then obviously we're not going to see any sort of headlines and stuff about demonizing police and law enforcement because of that. What if somebody's in a part of the pharmaceutical companies or whatever, in whatever capacity, and the makers or something, and they don't have to compete with this. Well, marijuana's already legal, so now what's the problem? Anyway, one more thing I wanted to bring up is this blue check mark situation. Twitter now has these blue check marks. X now has these new check marks. I think it's something that's kind of been status quo, at least for a while. I find it very ridiculous. The whole point of a blue check mark was so we can know who we're talking to. There's parody accounts, there's all of these things. Um, if I'm just really against these, anybody can get a blue check mark if they pay for it. Um, who are you? It makes me not like you more because I don't know who you are and you have a blue check mark. Um, the whole purpose of the blue check mark is completely diluted, and the only way to tell if it's the actual account and is how many followers they have. You have to check out that statistic. But anyway, against this new blue check mark, and you just pay for it and you have blue check mark. I mean, I don't know, maybe people use Twitter in a different way where that blue check mark means something, but the way in which I use Twitter, it's just really annoying. I said, well, I scroll through my Twitter feed and it's nothing but blue check marks, and I have zero idea who any of these people are. Like, okay, no, I'm not gonna look at your Substack. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's my political talking points for today. Tracy goes to work at Michael's, but I'm gonna stay at Kimmy's today and also on Thursdays. So those are my thoughts on the matter. Israel and timing and momentum, I guess, and this left-wing progressive stuff, and blue check marks. That's my title, my YouTube title. Okay, y'all have a good one. Happy Tuesday. I'll talk to y'all later. Hopefully my husband right next to me, because this is absolutely ridiculous. Not one paycheck, not one interview, not one debate, not one advertisement, not nothing. Oh, and yeah, that's it.